Good morning, everyone. It's Tom Sidney Bushnell, aka Numbers, here from Site Club and from my second channel, The Tom Numbers Show. And I've got a wonderful guest with me today, Laura Aboli. Laura, how are you?
I'm okay, Tom. Good to see you. Thanks for having me.
Well, you're welcome. Thanks for coming on. So me and Laura have been talking for a while in the community, and people will know her from her Telegram channel. She puts out a lot of great posts. But Laura, maybe best way to start is if you want to kind of introduce yourself, let people know from my audience that don't know you, what you're about, who you are, how you kind of ended up here and doing the things that you're doing and bringing your light and wisdom to the community. And also I will say as well, so some people won't know who I am, some people will, but some people won't, particularly maybe from people from Laura's channel. So they call me Tom Numbers. And the reason for that is because I do a lot of decodes and kind of looking behind the corner consciously and spiritually at things with all the things that are going on in the world. And the method I use is the alphabet and the numerical sequence it's in, i.e. A is the first letter of the alphabet, so therefore it equals numerically 1. B is the second, so therefore equals 2. C equals 3, etc. All the way through to Z or Z, letter 26. And so you'll see as I go along, I might mention saying, oh, this word means this, and I'll connect it a few dots with it. But that's what it is. So that's for new viewers. Now they know what I'm talking about when we talk about the numbers. So, all right, Laura, yeah, please tell us about yourself and your journey and how you got here.
Okay, I find that to always be the toughest question, is like, who are you and what are you all about? It's like, still trying to figure it out myself, I suppose. But going back to why we're here and why we're even having this type of discussions. I found at the beginning of 2020 when, everything started, this nightmare that we seem to be in, that things were going in a direction that I was really getting very concerned about. And I guess my, like we call it now, awakening process, for lack of a better word, started about 10 years ago. It was back in 2012 that it just started for me, for personal reasons. Things that happened in my life pushed me to ask myself a number of things with regards to not just the world, but it started very much about myself and who am I, why am I here, why have I made the choices in my life, where am I in my life, is this where I would want to be? All of these very transcendental type of questions that I believe everyone should ask oneself at some point in their lives came to me for a reason in 2012. And I started just researching and reading a lot and going through all sorts of rabbit holes, like we say, and one thing another, and you start uncovering a lot of the realities of the world that we live in and a lot of the falsehoods, and you actually begin to understand that there's more lies and fakeness and deceit than truth and authenticity, that's for sure. And so when 2020 started and this pandemic hit, I kind of could see where it was going and why it had happened. And so I felt that I needed to do something about it. I started getting quite anxious and quite frustrated and quite angry at the time. And so I thought, there's got to be something I have to do. And you feel so small when you are faced with such a global push to get us into this horrendous fear that people were really pushed into. And so you feel very helpless and hopeless at that moment. But I knew that, it didn't matter what it was that I could do, as long as I felt that I was doing something, it was going to help me feel less frustrated, and perhaps I could actually help others in at the same time. And so I've often told the story that in a meditation session and during lockdowns, it was the perfect time to meditate. I have never This meditation is not easy. Let's face it. It's not like it comes to me naturally. I have one of these very hyperactive minds. I'm always thinking, I'm always wondering, creating. And so lockdown presented a wonderful opportunity to really quiet the noise that surrounds us all the time and really take the time to think about a lot of things and do some meditation like I did. And I asked of God or the universe or source or whatever you want to call it, but you know, the creator to me, and I do refer to it as God, it's okay with me.
Yeah.
What can I do? How can I help? And I started seeing these letters in my meditation. I was very deep into it, and I could just see these letters, and I had no idea what they meant, but they were UDIMAF. And after the meditation, I took a long time to figure out maybe they mean something. Maybe there's some coded message here. And of course, I'm not into what you do with numbers and gematria, and so I didn't know what they meant, couldn't work it out, and very frustrated. I said, well, I don't get it. And then it hit me that maybe it's not something that existed, and it wasn't a coded message. It was just something that I had to do. And I thought that maybe the letters were an acronym for United Democratic International Movement for Awareness and Freedom, which is a very long name, which I would have never probably come up with myself. But I decided maybe that is what God was trying to tell me that I had to do. And so I started this movement. And in starting that movement, I thought, well, I have to kind of put myself out there so people understand who I am and what I'm all about. And so at the same time, I started a channel on Telegram and just putting out information, writing inspiring messages, giving people strength and hope whilst informing them. And so my channel became this mix of helping people become aware of some of the darker realities that we are faced with in this world, but at the same time giving them the strength and the understanding that actually we can all make a difference, and that simply by becoming that difference that we want to see, I strongly believe that we can turn things around, that we can really change the world. So that's the mission that I'm on at the moment, is just trying to be someone helpful at this time when I think a lot of people are suffering quite deeply from the uncertainty, from the anxiety that we are fed all the time, from this incessant fear that they keep pushing towards us, from beginning to understand things and being alienated by friends and family that don't quite see it the way that we are beginning to see and understand. And so it's a really difficult time for a lot of people. But at the same time, I think it's a wonderful opportunity for people to really get to understand themselves as they understand their environment, and try to make changes within themselves that will not only make a difference in their life, but in the life of those that surround them. So that's a very long-winded answer to where am I or who am I.
That's great. That's fantastic.
I'm just, I was talking about labels recently in one of my posts, and how we must just reject all labels, because that's just a way that they have created to really divide us into smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller boxes, right?
Yeah.
And I said, I will only subscribe to two labels. I'm a human and I'm a woman. And then I said, okay, I'm also a mother. So if you say to me, who are you? What are you? I'm a human, I'm a woman, and I'm a mother. And I'm just someone that feels that perhaps I can do a little something to help people. And if I can, I will.
Excellent. Well, that's a great purpose. It's a great journey of awakening and ascension that you've been on and are still going on, Laura. And I looked at some of the things when we were talking, and you sent me some of your mottos and sayings. So I thought we'd go through some of that. Interestingly enough as well. So Laura is 53, and Aboli is 39. 39 is angel. But you add them together, comes to 92, and 92 comes to numbers. So the nickname that I've been given for, it kind of started. It started with numbers, and then they started to call me Tom Numbers. But originally, I was given Jack Kidd and a few others gave me the name Numbers, and it stuck. And I was like, okay, that's cool. I'll take that. So that's why I always say Tom Sidney Bushnell, aka Numbers. But then the community just kind of morphed it into Tom Numbers, which is cool and great as well. But yeah, Laura Aboli is 92 numbers, and you talked about or alluding to things changing and reversing. So the word reverse is also 92. And then your acronym UDIMAF is 54, which comes to the word love. It also comes.
I like that.
There you go. Yeah.
It was born from my love to humanity and to people, and to wanting to make a difference and help others join me in that wonderful mission of making a difference. And I love it that it means or that it equates to love. Wow, I like that a lot.
And it's interesting how you kept getting it, and you're like, well, I don't know what this means, but you got specifically what the letters were, and so you created the full organization that you've got. But the acronym is Love 54. That also comes to orbs as well, and I like that one because I'll get in videos sometimes. I get orbs whizzing around and kind of beams of light, and I don't notice them until I've seen the video. People say, "Tom, you got an orb on this minute and this second in the video," and I feel that's our ancestors, my cousin, my grandparents in particular, and just forces of light confirming the work that you and I and all the rest of us are doing, and the viewers and listeners, they'll get orbs as well. But this is interesting. So another value for the word, for the number 92, which is Laura Aboli, which is also numbers, which is also reverse. It's also a place, and that place is Manhattan in New York. Oh. And the reason I mention that is because there's an interesting correlation here with the two things we've spoken about. I got my first number experience in Manhattan in 2015 when I bumped into, kind of serendipitously, but I bumped into Ivanka Trump. I got a picture with her and just said hello for a brief moment, and I got some number codes to connect with my cousin 118 and his date of birth, which was 118, and he just passed. But I sensed this kind of connection through the spiritual, I guess, fabric, the veil, I liken it to a bookcase, because the film, Christopher Nolan's film Interstellar, there was a scene where someone was talking through this interdimensional bookcase, but I didn't connect it fully with the numbers, although I did recognize the 118, which was my cousin's date of birth, and he just died, and I just met Ivanka. But then fast forward into 2020, the spring of 2020, and that's when I got activated fully with the numbers. I was always awake and always inquiring. I knew a lot of things in the world were not as they seemed, and I'd known that pretty much all my life, but particularly into my adulthood. So the last 25 years, I knew a lot of things weren't as they were. But then 2020 came in, like you said, and it was a great time of awakening and time to meditate and do all those things, but also be activated and start to receive and expand upon the spiritual gifts that we're given. But the reason I mentioned Manhattan 92, Laura Aboli 92, numbers 92, and then UDIMAF 54, which is love, which are orbs, you add those together, 92 plus 54 comes to 146. 146 actually does come to Ivanka Trump. It comes to New Jerusalem. And I was talking with Ismail Perez yesterday about the starship, the New Jerusalem. A lot of people think that the New Jerusalem is an actual ship, and that's another conversation. But it's also Truth Social. So that President Trump's social media is 146. But I saw that immediately. I was like, there's the connection with Manhattan. There's love, 54 orbs, 146, and it's also the trumpet, and that's kind of what we're doing. You, me, all of us, whatever we're believing, if it's a positive vibration, we're declaring our truth, we're letting our light shine, and we're effectively using a trumpet, a method of communication to speak loudly and to stand up and to say our truth and to be brave and to be bold and to declare what we feel resonates with us, and it affects the others. It also affects the fabric of the universe, because the universe is also 146, which is Laura Aboli, UDIMAF, the universe, the trumpet. So there were some correlations as you were talking. I didn't know those until you mentioned the acronym. I thought that was cool. I wanted to mention those.
Wow, you almost lost me there, but I finally got to where you wanted to get. That's
good.
I
hope she's not. Yeah.
Actually, when you mentioned orbs, I actually started thinking of orbits, and that led me to revolution, and which is something that I believe we're going through. And you know, you've got the Mr. Klaus Schwab's fourth industrial revolution, which is of course this great reset that they are pushing us towards. And I've always said, let's have that revolution. Let's give them the revolution, but let's make sure it's our revolution. You know, as they are trying to push us towards a change for the worse, we will make sure that we revolve to the better. And I think that what is required at this time is an internal revolution. It's the revolution that goes inside each and every one of us that is going through this process at the moment, that I believe will change the world. And it's quite encouraging when I sense more and more how many people are going through this process. You know, this is not something that is broadcasted in the news. It's not something that we get to really sense the magnitude of, because nobody is talking about it in the greater media or entertainment or anything. But actually, it's when you bump into people and you realize, wow, they also are beginning to get it, and they tell you of somebody else, and the links and the networks that are being created amongst all of us that are in the same sort of wavelengths of trying to become better in order to create a better world for all of us. I think that's the type of revolution that is required at the moment. I think humanity is going through a lesson. I think this is a lesson. I actually believe this is the lesson that humanity still had to learn, which is we are in control, that we are powerful, and that we can make a difference. But that in order for us to actually be able to apply this power and the strength that we have, we need to apply it within ourselves first. We have to become that. We have to become that powerful, positive light being, so that we can actually bring into effect the positive changes that we want to see in this world. So when you were talking about orbs, I was thinking about orbits and revolutions, and that's what comes to mind, is this internal revolution that I believe that we are all on at the moment, and that we really need to encourage others to join. You know, we really can achieve anything together, and we mustn't forget the fact that we are so many. And those that are trying to really enslave us and control us and really push us down are very, very, very few. Let's never forget that. The advantage is ours. Plus, I believe we've got love and light and God on our side. So we just need to know it. And we need to just move forward with that knowledge and that power and help one another get there. Definitely.
Oh, yeah, totally. We do. And you mentioned it feeds into nicely one of your phrases. I wanted to talk in a minute about surfers and divers. I read your post on that. I thought that was really interesting. But one of your sayings. Well, I will do the motto first. So your motto is truth, faith, freedom.
That's right.
So truth is 87, and 87 is a beautiful number. It's a reverse of 78, which is Genesis, which is the beginning of things. Kennedy podcast. We're on a podcast. Atomic number for platinum is 78, but we'll flip it back to 87, which is truth. It's also justice, and it's also stellar. And stellar it's a crypto. That's one thing, but stellar in terms of things outside of our physical realm here on the earth. And I don't know your feelings on the cosmos, but I feel that the universe is so much obviously vaster and bigger than just us here. And I think it's our playground. I think it's one of the things as we begin to wake up more and more and ascend. I think it's something that we will realize, and we'll be able to interact and travel and do all those things. The word travel is 78 as well. So stellar's 87, but you do the mirror of that. The word travel is 78. So it always makes me think of the bigger reaches, the bigger possibilities. A little bit like your analogy of the diver. And so the diver likes to immerse itself in the ocean, but also diving into space, because that's another ocean. That's another ocean of possibilities. The word faith is a really interesting one. So faith is 44. Faith is anon. So some people would describe you and me and others as anons, trying to declare, truth, put out our truth, our light. But there's a phrase, faith, hope, and charity. But faith is faith is 44. But also the word hope is also 44. And you marry those together, that's 88, which is the Lion's Gate, which is August 8th. That's a portal. 88 is Trump. It's the word purple, the royal color. There's a lot of things, but faith is 44, and then its sister or brother, compatriot, hope, is also 44. They're like two twins that come together. And then you've got freedom. So freedom is 66, which is happy, and it's also woman. And so freedom is 66, and you said that you're a woman, you're a mother, and you're a human, but freedom is 66. And also an interesting thing about it is the word event is also 66. So freedom, woman, happy, and event, they're all the same value, 66. And going back to 2020, we've both mentioned it, but that spring of 2020 was an event. That was a global event, and no one could not see or be embroiled in it. And depending on how you chose to live your life within those parameters, depended on your result and the outcome that you experienced. But that was an event, and I think it was a necessary event, as you've alluded to. It was different we didn't expect it. It was very strange and has been strange, continued to be so. But on the flip side of that, I think it's a necessary and, dare I say, beautiful event that allows us to self-reflect, to go inside, but also to expand and to explore and really question the fabric and nature of what all of this is about. And I think there is many lessons within that we have been able to uncover, to discover, and to reveal, and to learn, and continue to open the boxes of discovery because of that triggering event. There's been many events throughout time, but that was a huge one. It's the biggest one of my lifetime. Event is 66, which leads to freedom. And I think this is what this is. Even though it's wrapped up in embroiled in trickiness, eventually it's setting us free. And for me, it's set me free in many ways, but it continues to do so, even though if you look at one side of it, it could look contrary to that.
Interesting event and freedom. And yes, I do believe that as horrible as the last 2 years, almost coming to 3 now, have been for most of us and for a lot of people, very specifically, because there's been a lot of loss of life. And it's also, I believe, an event that has helped to shake people in ways that we perhaps needed to be shaken to wake up from this hypnotic trance that they placed us under for so long. And because the indoctrination starts when we're children, and we're taught to think and behave certain ways, and to never question authority, and to just always obey, and whatever they tell us must be true and must be right. And what we're seeing now is people are beginning to understand that we cannot trust anybody or anything, really. And we're seeing the collapse of all the institutions, whether it's legal or medical or governmental. All of it is just collapsing like a house of cards, because we're beginning to see that actually they are just branches and executive arms of a very nefarious group of people with a rather dark plan for humanity. And so it is difficult times for people, but I do believe that it has helped in accelerating this process of awakening and making and forcing people to start questioning and do their own research and perhaps also push people to start to use their own intuition and their own instinct, which for some reason we had come to neglect and ignore, which is madness, because humans were created with this wonderful, what I call GPS system, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
That God-given GPS, which helps us navigate and maneuver life. And, you know, you will see animals never, ever ignore their instinct. They never ignore it. Whereas we've learned to sometimes just ignore it and push it aside because we think our mind knows better and it's more clever and it will lead us to the right answers and in the right direction. But that is not actually the case. I think it's very important that people understand that the mind is just an incredibly wonderful, useful tool, but it is a tool, and that decisions must not be made so much by the mind, but by our heart and our intuition and that instinct. So even at times when our mind tells us that things are lining up and we should go in this direction because look, 1 + 1 is 2, and so you should go this way. If your heart is telling you, you know, it just doesn't feel right, my gut is telling me that I shouldn't, then don't. But it was only those that really learned to listen to their instincts that were able to avoid them. And so it just goes to show how important it is to do that. And I think that this time now of so much uncertainty is really helping people to get in touch with our basic instincts and learning to be guided and to trust this God-given intuition that we have. It's there for a reason.
Yes, it is. It's our conscious, our inner light. Some will talk about Christ consciousness, not in a religious way, but the Christ consciousness. And it's interesting, actually. One of the things you mentioned was about meditating or meditate. And meditate, if I remember rightly, 77, which is a really powerful number because that's it's it's the same as vibrate, is the same as matter, it's the same as hertz, as in frequency, and it's the same as in Christ, and in the universal, like not a religious per se, but in terms of a Christ consciousness, so it doesn't seem any coincidence that to meditate, to get in touch with your inner being, that inner light, is the same as 77. It's the same as Christ. It's the same as vibrate, because you're doing that. And it's matter. So it's like they talk about the universe, how to create things, and it's all through sound. Because when you put a certain frequency into matter, it changes. It coagulates in a certain form, and you can see that with you get like a kind of plinth of sand. People will do. You've probably seen the videos on YouTube where they might play a violin, and it changes, and it magically morphs and changes, and it's like, well, everything is sound and vibration and frequency, but it forms matter, and that process of meditation or meditate is all connected to it, I believe, and it goes back to the trumpet. So trumpet is a metaphor. Well, it's an instrument, but it's a metaphor, but it's for the universe. So 113 or the trumpet 146 is the universe, or just on its own 113 is universe. It's also trumpet, and it's like, well, why is that? Why was that connected in such a way? One thing as well about the significance of the numbers and the letters and the coding is, if you were to add up all of the letters in order, so if you did A plus B plus all the way through to 26, or the 26th letter Z or Z, so you do A is 1, B is 2, C is 3. It comes to an important number, Laura. It comes to the number 351. And 351 actually comes to the phrase, God communicates through numbers. And it also comes to Jesus Christ is the English alphabet. And there's about 20 similar phrases that come to 351. And the more and more that you look into it, it's like, oh, wow, okay. And even when you delve into things like the first letter, so the first letter is A, so that's 1. The last letter is 26 or Z or Z. So A plus Z or Z as 1 plus 26, and that comes to 27. But
Yeah.
the word code also comes to 27. And so it's like everything has been coded, and it's like I think it's an amazing thing. It's in everything. And there are many meanings in, but the beauty of it is everyone gets different. So everyone has their own interpretation on things, their own things that they see, but it takes you from a 3 into a 4th and a 5th dimensional possibility of realities. But I do believe that the language and the numbers were synergized together. However we got into this thing of however mankind and humanity started, I believe it was blueprinted. I think it was imprinted right at the beginning when it was all created, however it was fashioned, whether it was all of us collectively creating it, whether it was God, whether we did it with God as well. I think it's probably a combination of all those things, and maybe something completely else as well that we haven't thought of. But whatever it was, I believe that the numbers and the letters were imprinted from time immemorial. And now as we look at them, we can see the connections, and they always marry up, you know. Anyway, I could go on for ages about it, but it's
a fascinating thing when you, I mean, even in nature is full of mathematics. It's full of numbers.
Yes, exactly.
The Fibonacci sequence and pi and all of these recurring figures and numbers that are almost everywhere. You know, it is incredible. And that's why when I think of people that don't believe that there is, or that there was a creator and that there is intelligent design behind everything, I don't understand that, because it is so obvious to me that there was a design behind everything. This cannot just be, fluke or just a matter of things evolving. It's too perfect. And there's too much of perfect design behind everything, and the symbiosis of how everything works together and how everything affects everything. And it's just I marvel. It's fascinating and wonderful to see. And so for me, you know, I see that creation around me. So I can't understand people that don't believe in this wonderful sense of a creator above us and above everything. It's incredible. And talking about frequencies and waves, you know, you were saying about letters and numbers, you know, at the beginning was the word. And, you know, what is word? Word is sound, and sound is vibration. And, you know, so there's so much magic around us. And the more, you know, the more you can feel and see that magic. So it's you know, I didn't know anything about what you're into, what you do with numbers and letters and things, but it's fascinating to understand the meaning of some words and how some words are linked to others, and how you can maybe understand things better by overlapping these words that have the same numeric value. It's quite interesting.
Yeah, you got it. And you talked about create and creation, and so the word create, creation, beg your pardon, let me do it again. So create, creation is 85, which also comes to the word awakening, and that we're going through that awakening. Another value for 85 is also storm. President Trump has spoken about the storm, and people are like, well, what storm, Mr. President? He said, oh, you'll find out. I'm like, well, so how do you connect storm, and how do you connect awakening, and how do you connect creation? And I believe that, going back to the beginning, like you said, the word, that's perfect what you said about the word, and the word was the beginning. And the 4th book of the Bible is Numbers 92. So you got the numbers and the word all kind of in the beginning of everything. But so creation, storm, and awakening. It's like, okay, so you've got the creation 85, then you got the awakening, and it's like, okay, so what are we being awoken to? We're being awoken to multiple things at multiple levels, but ultimately we're understanding the nature of reality. I believe we're beginning to understand fully, in a more comprehensive way, the nature of who we are, what we are, how we came to be, what's our purpose now, and what we do in the future. And going through this storm, this awakening process, the storm is vital for the awakening. It's what, like you said earlier, it's forced us into a corner to actually confront these things. So as we go through the storm, we're going through the awakening, and we're understanding what the nature and fabric of reality is, i.e. the creation. Also, another word for it is matrix. And so matrix, people talk about the matrix being a bad thing. And I love the movie The Matrix. But when you escape the matrix, there's also, in my understanding, a beautiful matrix, i.e. the God matrix, the thing that is natural, the thing that is organic, the thing that we're all part of. And so I believe as the old matrix is being stripped away, all the negative stuff, the positive matrix, the positive creation, the real, true, authentic, universal creation is being revealed to us as we go through this awakening, as we go through the storm, as we pass through from one matrix into the true matrix. We're seeing what the fabric of reality and creation is. So 85, storm,
interesting,
awakening, matrix, creation. Yeah.
And I have often said, and I don't consider myself an anon, and I'm not really into deciphering Q drops and things like that. It's just never been my thing. But when you were talking now about, creation and going through the storm, and yes, we are going through a storm in that this transformation is painful, like most transformations are. Change is generally difficult, and when you are trying to step up into something better, well, you have to go through certain hardships, which I believe we're feeling right now. But I think that the process itself is really about getting to the source of reality, like you briefly mentioned. And I have often said that in understanding the darkness that has surrounded us and created this fake matrix that we refer to, and in understanding that, we are also beginning to realize and understand the light and the beauty of the real creation, and God, or the universe, or source, however you want to refer to it. There is this greater, all-powerful, unbelievable intelligence, that really is there. And so the beauty of this transformation is not just in understanding, whoa, we're really in a bad situation here, aren't we? And these people that are trying to desperately control us further and further and enslave us further and further are really very dark entities. But at the same time, that's when you begin to discover the light that we have inside, and the divine nature of humanity. And that's when you start shedding the fear. That's when you start really empowering yourself. That's when you start walking the right path, and really beginning to understand how together we can turn things around. So yes, we're going through the storm, but yes, we're going to get to that light at the end of the tunnel and see the real beauty of this creation that surrounds us, without the matrix, without the word apocalypse is actually means an unveiling, or removing this veil of darkness that has been placed over us for millennia, really. And so it's actually really exciting to be alive right now, to be part of this process, to be part of this change. So I often tell people, let's shed the fear. They want you in fear, because in fear you don't break that barrier, you don't break that matrix, you don't step out of it. But the minute you understand how we are so much more powerful inside and strong, we can do that. And so that is the beauty of this process and the storm that we're going through, is that it will allow us to see, that wonderful, beautiful blue sky and sun and the beauty of everything, once the gray clouds are out of our way.
Yep. And sun is 54, which is love, which is orbs, which is UDIMAF, UDMAF. So there you go.
I like sun and love, light.
Yeah.
It's good.
And I was going to say as well, divers. So in your analogy of surfers and divers is 77, which is meditate, which is Christ, which is power, which is hertz, which is vibrate, which is matter. It's all those things. And surfers is 106. There's a few things for that, but one of them is red pilling. So that's interesting.
Yeah, for those that haven't read my blog, I was comparing certain types of people with others that, that I was saying some people surf. They just like to keep it superficial in the upper strata of life, and others of us like to get deep down into the core of things. And I was trying to explain how I believe us divers are the ones that first started to awaken, because we like to get into things and we like to uncover the naked truth behind things. I was trying to make that comparison between surfers and divers, because there's a lot of conflict at the moment in between people, in friendships and with relatives and loved ones, because there is this strange parallel now where some are here and others of us are here, and we're just like not really reaching them, and they're not reaching us, because we see things differently, we feel things differently, because we really like to dive deep, and so often that creates a lot of conflict at the moment, and us divers can come up to the surface, and we can surf at times, and that's okay to meet our loved ones up here, but we need that depth, because it's what feeds our soul. And so I think a lot of the trouble that people are going through is because we're trying to pull those surfers down deep down, and sometimes they can't do it, or they can't do it for very long. It's like, whoa, it's scary down there. Don't drag me there, because I haven't taken enough oxygen to face the darkness deep down. And so I was just trying to explain to those that have not read my blog what I was trying to explain with surfers and divers, and a lot of this conflict that people are experiencing with loved ones and friends, because of that difference in how we approach life and how we think about things.
Yeah, it was a great analogy, and I read it today. I was like, oh yeah, I get that, and I was like, okay, so which one am I? Okay, I think I know which one I am. Yeah.
I think I know which one you are.
I think I know which one you are. Well, you say in there, but yeah.
Well, I said in my blog, I say I'm definitely a diver, but I happen to be a Pisces as well, so I'm really cool down deep in the water.
Yeah, and that's it, isn't it? So Pisces, it's interesting because Pisces is the fish, but then Aquarius is next to it, and we're both in February, and yeah, I've always, February's an air sign as well, but I've always I love the water. I'm here down in Bournemouth at the moment, and just being near the sea, but we're going into the age of Aquarius, where things become more like the diving experience, things become less kind of hard facts. They become more magical, more dreamlike, more possibilities, multiple meanings for all kinds of things, and people can find their way through it, and it never ends really. It's an infinity of possibility, and I'm very excited for the continuation of the age of Aquarius, the millennium, peace on earth for 1,000 years, the golden age, however people want to call it, but yeah, Pisces the fish and Aquarius the water bird. Yeah, I like it.
Yeah. Well, like I was saying, I really think that this is a really incredible moment to be alive, and my hope and my dream is that we will get to really experience that golden age that we dream of. I'll be happy if just I know that my children will be able to enjoy it, but I really think that we will get to see that, and I don't think it's that far off. But we may be in for some difficult times still ahead of us. I don't think the storm is over by any means, and it might get darker and cloudier and it may rain a lot on top of us, but I think as long as you understand the process, and you embrace the process for what it is, and you really have shed the fear that they're trying to instill upon us constantly, and you have done that inner work that I very often refer to, which is really the only way to understand your own power and your own mission and your purpose. I think it makes it all a lot easier to bear. So that's what I'm all about, is helping people through this transition, and we're all learning as we go. You know, this is always, life is work in progress. There's never a time when you know all the answers. That's just not the way it works. Maybe the day you die, maybe that's when you know all the answers, but this life is meant to be an experience of evolution. And so but it is fascinating in that it is that way. And I think that when you learn to understand that it is a process of learning, and you do embrace that, it becomes really quite magical. You begin to see the signs along the way that are trying to direct you, that are giving you hints and clues, and the synchronicities happen all the time. I mean, it happens in my life in a way that sometimes really just blows my mind. And I smile because sometimes I feel that connection with God or with source in such a strong way that it's like, wow, you know, thanks. Or I saw that, I can read that, I get you, I'm there, you know, and that's what makes life really fascinating. And so it's about switching from this fear paradigm, these low vibration, you know, awful states of mind and of being, stepping outside of that into what makes life really a truly magical experience. Even in the dark times, it can be that way when you understand the purpose of it, and you understand what it is that you're meant to do to get you through that to the other side. And I feel that is happening, and I think that each and every one of us that are in this process can help one another. That's why I encourage people to always get together with like-minded people at this time, because it really fuels this positive energy, and it can be very, very helpful through difficult times.
Definitely. Something else as well, that a couple of things you highlight, well, you mentioned that triggered some thoughts for me, Laura, is she talked about the golden age, which I'd mentioned, and so the word golden equals 57. Actually equals England, so you know, here in England, but it also equals Tesla. And so Tesla technology and Tesla's thinking and consciousness going into the future, I believe is a vital component of all of this. But it also equals human. So as we go into the golden age, we go into the human age, and people are like, well, on one level, well, we're human anyway, but our humanity, our actual true power, our godlike abilities, because of the way we've been created, our DNA, that things have been suppressed, and we've been in this veil of darkness. And as we come out of that, that's the exciting part, is when we start to discover our true magic, our true godlike abilities, our true nature, our superhero abilities, all those things. And so the golden age is the human age, the true human age. And I think, again, that's another piece of this, was a massive component of this, where we're washing away all the darkness and the negative programming and spellbinding and all those things, and going into this age of Aquarius, this age of light, but this age of human, you know, the golden age. Golden is 57, human is 57, Tesla is 57. You also mentioned the word mission, and that's something I wanted to bring up earlier, but you brought it up. So one of your phrases, well, your motto, or your phrase that you like, your saying is, together everything is possible. Possible is 97, which is beauty, which is Kennedy's. That's an interesting set of numbers. But the word together, I wanted to focus on that. Together is 98. And 98 is, the first thing that comes to my mind when I think of the number 98 is independence. So it almost sounds like a dichotomy, is like 98 is independence, but 98 is also together. And so finding our true independence, we find our perfect space in the cosmos. Yeah. And also the word mission is also 98. So together we have a mission, 98, but also it allows us to be independent purely and perfectly, 98. But also then we can, if we're independent perfectly, we can also be together perfectly, and we can have that perfect mission. It's interesting that all those ones to come together. And I don't know if I'd done the word together before. I may have done it ages ago, but when I did it this morning, I was like, together is 98, which is independence. but it's also our mission.
That's interesting, because it is true. I think we're coming out of an age where everything had to be institutionalized, and there was overarching, as we have seen in recent times, in the most scary of ways, this state being, you know, this controlling father of everything. You know, they want to be the parents of everyone, and control every move that we make and everything that we say, and what have you. Whereas we're transitioning from that into a different age where we want to strive as independent, sovereign beings that understand that we do have to cooperate and collaborate, you know. But that's very different to placing the well-being of the all above the well-being of the individual.
Exactly.
What we've just seen with, you know, you had to give up your rights and your freedoms for the collective good. I mean, that's looking at everything the wrong way around. That never work long term. If we don't value the individual and that individual's rights to freedom, to freedom of speech, to freedom of movement, to freedom of choosing what goes into their own bodies, how can the collective ever thrive? It can't, you know. So we are moving to an age where we understand that the individual is everything, because only when the individual is free and it's sovereign and it's healthy and it's happy can we make a good society and a healthy thriving community, right? So it's interesting that the word together is linked to the word independent, or that they have the same numeric value. Because that's exactly what I would want for humanity. And a lot of what I speak about is, you know, get your house in order. That is you yourself. Make yourself that strong, independent, a powerful being that you are. Really embrace that and understand that and act accordingly. Because when you are that and I am that, together, we can do anything, right? And so that is quite interesting, that together and independent have the same numeric value.
Yeah. Together and independence is 98. It is amazing. And mission as well. You talked as well about so when you're saying, it made me think of the word sovereign, because that's where we're ultimately going to be sovereign. And sovereign is 114, frequency is 114, history is 114, trump card is 114. But if you want to change your history, change your frequency, and therefore you ultimately become sovereign. So that's another one that's interesting. It's like how they're all connected. And it's the one next to universe. So 113 is universe, but 114 is frequency and sovereign. And I think by changing our history, by changing our frequency, we're able to able to change our history, but also become sovereign. And in and of itself, that is a trump card. That's like okay, I can give you the key to the universe. Okay, change your frequency, upgrade your consciousness, and then you can change your history and you can become ultimately truly independent, but truly sovereign. Another thing you mentioned a few minutes ago was the word intelligence. So intelligence is an interesting one. So intelligence comes to 115. So we've done 113, trumpet, universe. We've done 114, which is frequency, sovereign, history, trump card. And then 115 is intelligence. And there's another thing that's in the news right now everywhere. The word Twitter is also 115. And I've been looking at Twitter for a while, through a certain lens, and it's connected with the film Back to the Future. And at the end of, I don't know if you've seen I know you don't really watch movies now per se, but are you familiar with?
I watched them once upon a time when they were released, like a long time ago now, right? What is it, 20 years ago, perhaps even? Yeah, maybe more. Yeah, when I was quite young, I watched them.
Yeah. So there's an interesting part. I love movies, but I haven't been for months. The last one I went to was Top Gun, the new one. But I don't watch the TV, although I've kind of been seeing more of it as I've been in the hotel for a few days. But the movie Back to the Future is an interesting one. It's 176, the number for that. But right at the end of the film, Laura, there's a part, and I've seen the film before, but it didn't make any. It was there kind of subliminally, but it was right in plain sight. So as Marty has the time machine, the DeLorean, and he's about to go back into the future from 1955 into 1985. There's a storm coming, so there's all thunder and lightning. And the DeLorean, interestingly, 74, which is Gematria, which is Muhammad, Messiah, Jesus, English, Tarot, London, all kinds of things. But anyway, as he turns the car around, you see right behind him, there's a hotel, and it's a placard of the name of the hotel, and it says Bluebird Motel, and it has a bluebird, like the Twitter bird. It has the symbol of the bluebird, and it's right there. And I'm like, and I saw this back in, I'd seen it before, but I did a piece on it back in April, May, when Elon was first talking about buying Twitter, and I spoke about it at Charlie's event in Birmingham. And it seemed after it, Elon's not going to get Twitter, but lo and behold, he did. So there was a kind of, we'll give you the announcement. It's not going to happen. President Trump even said, Elon's not going to he's not going to get Twitter. And then right at the end, he says, maybe, who knows? So he knew. But then obviously Elon's bought it now. So this is really interesting. So the Bluebird Motel with the Twitter symbol. So that's why we can make the connection, because it's not just the numbers, but there's also the symbol. So there's the Bluebird, and that's the symbol of Twitter. Mm-hmm. So I did the numbers on Bluebird Motel, and that comes to 138. 138 comes to a few things. It comes to Donald Trump. It comes to Elon Musk Bank. And Elon bought the Bluebird, the Twitter, through his money. And then 138 also comes to I am Twitter. So I was like, okay. And then it also comes to I am intelligence. I was like, so what's this? So what an intelligent move from the universe, from the white hats, from however you want to look at it. Something has happened in the cosmos. Something has happened. That was put in that film back then. Now we have the thing of Twitter, and it was kind of going down the sewer, wasn't it? Until Elon came in. And now it's become this free board. They have the Twitter files. I sent that actually the other day because I was researching that. I was like, the Twitter files. But how intelligent is that? So intelligence is 115. Intelligence is Twitter. And what an intelligent move from who I believe is, from the white hats and all the rest of it. But ultimately, the white hats, in my opinion, are working divinely with God, with the Creator, with all of us. But what an intelligent move to have something like a social media platform that seemed to be riddled with problems, and then you get a huge billionaire to buy it. And the coding's there. It's like Bluebird Motel. It has the symbol of Twitter, and the gematria says, I am intelligence. It says Elon Musk Bank. And it says Donald Trump. I'm like, honey, what's going on here? I think it's a super intelligent move. And when I see that it was predicted or shown to us in this movie, Back to the Future, a long time, there's loads of other ones. There's loads of other pieces in Back to the Future that are connected with this time. But that one, I think, is an obvious one, because people might say, how you can make it mean anything, Tom. It's like, well, numbers, you can get lots of values, but you can't make it mean anything. You can't say, okay, it equals bread. It doesn't equal bread. It equals 138, and 138 equals Donald Trump. It equals Elon Musk Bank. It equals I am Twitter. I am intelligence. It equals those things. It equals other things as well, but it equals those things. But it doesn't mean, you can't make it mean apple or bread, because it just doesn't add up. Yeah. So I just think that's a beautiful revelation that they've given us. And I see it in so many things. I see it in so many of the films. I've got loads of them in Back to the Future, loads in The Matrix. But that one's a specific one that people can see, because it's got the symbol as well. It's got the bluebird, Twitter bird symbol there. And it's like, Elon's bought it, and it all adds up. And now it's this platform for people to speak freely. We have to be careful here when what we're saying. But on Twitter, people can pretty much say they're not going to get in trouble. Yeah. And I think that's just a genius move, because it's got such a wide platform. Truth Social's great, but the existing platform of Twitter has so many people following it, and now it's it's a total 180. It's a total flip. I just think I think it's super intelligent. It is intelligence 115, which is Twitter 115. So
you mentioned the word intelligence in relation to Twitter, but you know what the Twitter files have revealed is that intelligence agencies were feeding them.
Yeah, you're right. Yes.
Censor. And matter of fact, I'm quite convinced that a lot of these giant social media platforms were created by intelligence agencies. I'm
yes.
not saying that Zuckerberg in a garage with his friend created Facebook. I just don't buy it.
Yeah.
I don't have proof of what I'm saying, but I really believe that a lot of these social media gigantic platforms were created by intelligence agencies like DARPA or the FBI or the CIA or who knows, because really they knew how much they were going to be able to use these platforms as a method of control and influence. And what the Twitter files are revealing at the moment is exactly that they were used to alter the results of an election process, that they and worse than that, well, that's pretty bad, but to me worse than that is how they were used to censor all doctors, all scientists, and all people that were trying to warn others to the dangers of these vaccines. That is criminal. That is really criminal, because suppressing information that can lead to people saving lives is criminal. That to me it equates to murder. So it's interesting, this connection between Twitter and intelligence, because what Twitter is becoming now is the revealing of that intelligence, plus the fact that intelligence agencies were the ones behind, the suppressing of the information in the first place. So very, very exciting.
Good connection. Yeah.
Very exciting at the moment what is happening with Twitter. Elon to me has always been a question mark and an enigma. I sometimes think, maybe he's a good guy, and then I think maybe he's not, and that's where I'm always at. I can't make up my mind. But
which Elon is the question?
Well, exactly.
Which Elon? Yeah.
Yeah, but right now with what he's doing with Twitter and how it's helping to bring out a lot of realities and truths, I think it's just great. And I think we really needed to see that, to understand how much we are being influenced, manipulated, and deceived into following certain narratives and certain paths and certain agendas. What is important, I think, for people to understand is that whatever agenda they've come up with will not work unless we follow it. Just as simple as it is. And that is the reason why they need to use all of these different avenues of control and influence through media, through entertainment, through social platforms, because they need us to buy into that agenda that we need to follow. If we don't follow the agenda falls flat on its face, immediately, right? Yeah. And so the beauty of the Twitter files and what Elon through Twitter is exposing is precisely how we are being conned, deceived, manipulated, and indoctrinated into following certain agendas that are really not in our best interest and that we really must not follow. So this is really, really important and really exciting that people are beginning to see, wow, they really fooled us this way and that way by saying this, by hiding that truth, So this is really exciting. So, it's great. It's great at the moment that this is all coming out for the masses to see, because, there's been mainstream media now also reporting on all of these things, which is vital for the masses to wake up and really begin to understand how the matrix, as we were referring to earlier, how it works and how it works to lead you to where they want you to go, right? Until we say, no, I don't want to go that way. Sorry. Not me. Don't count with me. I'm going to walk this way because that's the way I want to walk, because I like it. It's beautiful. It's pretty. It makes me feel good. It's healthy. I don't like your path. Thank you very much. So that's all that needs to happen, is for people that understand that the agenda cannot be and will not come about if we do not follow it. That's all we need to do.
Exactly. That's it. The Twitter file was 199. Yeah, they are. It's a beautiful process, the Twitter files. So, and also, well, closing, you mentioned about Facebook and DARPA. So 107, he said a while ago on one of my shows, you might have said it a couple of times, but he feels that DARPA was the creation of Facebook. You know, that's what it was. So, well, Laura, it's been a lot of fun. It's been really informative, and I've learned some new things. So I appreciate that. That's really cool. How can people find you?
Well, I am most active on Telegram through my channel, which is just Laura Aboli channel. They can find me by my name.
It's big. So you got what, 120,000 on there now?
Yeah, over 120,000 subscribers.
So go and subscribe to Laura's channel. There's lots of great info on there.
Yeah, so my Telegram is where I'm most active. I have a blog, which is a website, which is also my name. They can find me through my name, lauraaboli.com. And then my my movement, UDMAF, udmaf.org, which is, you know, something that I'm hoping one day will get bigger and bigger and bigger. I'm recruiting all sorts of people, and one day when there's a few more of us, we'll get to do good things, and I'm excited about that. So yeah, for now, that's how they can find me. Excellent.
Well, thanks, Laura. God bless you. Everyone, I'll put the links below. And also a reminder for people on my channel, do subscribe to the Tom Numbers Show here and Site Club as well. Make sure you're double subscribed, because sometimes, you know, just need to check that you are. And my Rumble and Telegrams are there, and Twitter as well. So I'm more on there now. I was putting my videos out, but I used to do loads of codes before I got I was in the excuse me, I was in the coal, but I think it will come back. Yeah, excellent. All right, thanks, Laura. God bless you.
God bless.
Take care. Thanks. Bye-bye. Bye.